On today's episode of Newer is Not Always Better, I present the one and only Exhibit A, by way of this HP Envy 6455E printer. And in a rather uncharacteristic move for me, this is a brand new electronic item. I very rarely buy brand new electronic items at the store. This was born out of necessity after my previous printer decided to kick the bucket after about 15 years of reliable service. This printer has a number of niceties that, my old printer didn't have, like a document feeder for making scans and copies of documents. So instead of having to scan every single piece of paper individually using the flatbed scanner copier, you can just take the whole pile, stick it in here, click the copy button, and it will feed through each page and make a copy of it without any intervention required. And just like the majority of printers that preceded it, we do have a regular conventional flatbed scanner. And there's this integrated paper tray extender with a little plastic stop. And over here on the right side are some status lights and buttons, touch-sensitive buttons for printing out printer information, resetting or clearing an error, making black and white and color copies, canceling a print job, and also a Wi-Fi indicator light. And that last little tidbit might give some clue as to, a feature that this printer have, which may not be considered as such depending on who you ask. This is not your old USB only printer, so there is no USB connection, although I have heard reports that those enterprising individuals have had some degree of success with removing this stupid sticker and gaining access to the USB connection to convert this into an old school USB only printer. But aside from that, on this back panel, there's only a figure of 8 power cord, a power button, and hiding below that is WPS Wi-Fi connection button. Gaining access to the internals of this system, this printer, is a rather easy feat by grabbing hold of the right side and left side grab handles, so to speak, and lifting up to reveal the ink cartridges, which just so happen to be HP 67, and this contraption hiding in the back, which I'm becoming increasingly familiar and well acquainted with because this printer is having and developing a propensity to jam, where it fails to feed in the paper properly, almost like it's worn out. This printer is probably 7 or 8 months old and hasn't received all that much use, and yet I've had to go in here and remove this panel, if I don't manage to break it somehow, to clear jam paper that hasn't spooled through and fed through properly. And those rubber wheels look totally fine to me. They're not glazed over. They show none of the usual signs of excessive use or abuse or wear and tear. So it's really come as a surprise to me when, probably I want to say in the past month, this thing started exhibiting a failure to reliably feed the paper and draw it in from the paper tray. In terms of reference material, they did provide this manual that is one of very few words. This being a new printer, you need to install the required HP Smart software for either your PC or your phone to configure this printer. And then, of course, it says follow instructions in HP Smart to connect the printer to a network and activate the HP Plus features. One such issue for those cheapskates in the viewing audience and those considering a printer such as this is that of generic off-brand ink cartridges. And unfortunately, what seems to be the case that is taking place with the majority of HP, if not all of the HP printers that are available today new, is the internet-based elements that include HP Plus, which is their subscription service that allows customers to participate in instant ink, but there's a bit of a sneaky catch-22 of the convenience that comes along with HP Plus and their instant ink. And that's the requirement that your HP printer will only work with cartridges that have a new or reused HP chip. And you can clearly see that by these folks signing up for the HP Plus subscription service that it pretty much triggered behavior that would block aftermarket ink cartridges. And unfortunately, it seems to be that once that software block is triggered by subscribing to the HP Plus free ink program, that's it. There's no way to turn that feature off, and you are going to be resigned to using genuine HP ink for the entirety of the life of the printer. So this is the HP Smart app for iPhone. Pretty much it's going to be the same deal on Android and also on your PC. There's quite a bit of upselling ads, so to speak. They're not really ads in the traditional sense, but they're just trying to convince you to sign up for their ink plans, unlock cloud features using and creating an HP account, using camera scan to scan documents, which all iPhones have by default. That's really a moot feature, and what they're trying to sell as shortcuts to save time. And then a bunch of these other features that won't even work because I haven't signed up and created an HP account. For example, if I go to print photos now, it's probably going to request that I create an account. Likewise, if I print documents, wants me to create an account. Likewise, if I do printer scan, wants me to create an account. Noticing a trend here, pretty much every feature that they try to tell you is something that you get with having the app installed is locked behind having an account and quite possibly a subscription. Okay, I've never seen that happen before, and I'm glad I had the camera going to catch that because I don't know what that's supposed to mean. And again, a bit of a gripe, nitpick here. Okay, again, it wants me to sign in here or something like that. No thank you. But if you click estimated supply levels, that will just bring up a page that wants you to sign up for Instant Ink, an upsell, if you will. So if you want to actually view information, you don't click that. You click the picture of the printer, and then that gives you the status report. Cartridges are low, and you can see that it's complaining about there being altered or cloned cartridges installed, that the printer has detected that non-HP electronic circuitry is attached to the indicated cartridges, and the HP Smart program for PC is also not happy that we're running altered or cloned cartridges. But enough of messing around with HP Smart's proprietary mobile and PC programs. We have the IP address, and with that we can access the printer's internal web server. Now I have access to the printer's built-in web server, which gives us a quick and easy at-a-glance view of just about everything going on. Of course, to access any of the advanced level settings and things like that, you have to sign in using the printer's PIN. I'll go ahead and do that right now. You can actually scan documents using this built-in web page, and it claims it'll save the scanned document in the default download location for your web browser. It says scanning page, and I hear the printer, or I should say the scanner, doing its thing. And now I can go ahead and save that scanned document as a PDF. And there we have it. So that makes short work of scanning in documents as PDFs or images, even if you don't have any of the requisite software installed on your computer. Oh, that's fantastic. We have an error. This is exactly what I was actually planning to try to catch on video, but I couldn't have planned that better if I tried. So you can clearly see we have paper loaded properly in the paper tray. Nothing is askew or out of place. And yet now I can't push this thing back in. And now something that I have to do that I was mentioning is becoming an everyday occurrence just about at this point, is remove this access panel and remove the paper, which usually gets destroyed in the process. It's not even a year old, hasn't seen all that much use. Everything is in practically new condition still, and yet here we are having to constantly take this thing apart as if it's an old worn out office printer. So right now the printer is in what HP describes as power saving mode or eco mode, and this happens every time the printer is left alone and not being used for, I believe, more than 15 minutes. And we can tell it's in power saving standby mode because all of the lights on the control panel are extinguished with the exception of the Wi-Fi indicator light. And this is the fatal flaw of this printer. Seems to be a fault that's evident on many of HP's consumer line of printers, as evidenced by what I've been able to find online and on Reddit. This problem and quirky behavior is not just limited to this model of HP printer. I'll click print, and the printer icon in the notification area now shows that there is one document currently in the print queue, and this is what happens. Absolutely nothing. You can sit here and wait and wait and wait for the printer to eventually come online, and nothing happens. And this is what continuously happens when trying to send a print command to this printer when it's in its eco-friendly power saving mode. And it doesn't matter what you try to do to bring this printer back online, when it gets in this stuck state, so to speak, between it being powered on and it essentially being powered off in this power saving mode, it doesn't matter what you do to it, nothing happens. I can go ahead and open up the flatbed scanner, and the only thing that happens is the scanner itself can be seen flashing. Oh, see, that actually brought it online that time, which is quite surprising, because usually in times past this just gets stuck in hybrid sleep mode and nothing you do will bring it back online. But this time we got lucky, but that is not always the case. So this is what happens with a brand new printer. Go to lift the thing up to make a photocopy, and it just sits there strobing the copy scanner mechanism. And even if you were able to wake the printer up by opening up its flatbed scanner or pressing any of the buttons on the control panel, it's very rare that the print command will come through correctly. So I'm still sitting here waiting for that quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog document to come through. Nothing is happening on the control panel. And unfortunately, this is really an irksome behavior that cannot be ignored. I don't care who you ask, but this is totally unacceptable. The printer is showing is offline, which has pretty much led me to be resigned to having to disconnect and then reconnect the power cord, restarting the printer, and obviously causing it to be connected to the network and to be able to print correctly. So unfortunately, because of this power saving feature, it's integrated into just about every printer, but for whatever reason seems to be acting out and misbehaving on my HP NV6400. Printing is, to put it bluntly, a bit of a crapshoot, or to put it more mildly, a bit of a roll of the dice just about every single time, not knowing whether or not it will print correctly. Unfortunately, that doesn't appear to be a solution in sight, unless of course you consider those quote-unquote solutions that are provided by the way of a number of online forums that will remain unnamed, that are essentially just regurgitating the same boilerplate suggestions that are nothing more than just a fool's errand. And by that I mean checking the IPv4 v6 settings, configuring a manual IP address as opposed to one assigned via DHCP, checking and then disabling or enabling the Microsoft WS Discovery print and scan services, nuking your entire installation by restoring your printer to defaults, or one that I have never ever heard before. Avoid connecting your device to a surge protector extension cable. No, I don't want to tell you what I think, HP, go away. You really wouldn't care what I have to say anyway. An extension cable, power strip, and to instead plug the printer directly into the wall, and that may be causing our no power condition. So this once again proves that newer is most certainly not always better. I mean, oh sure, I have a fancy automatic document feeder now, and it's wireless, so I don't have to have it tethered physically to my main PC. But unfortunately, all that extra fluff becomes a moot point when, well, the whole main attraction of the device, in this case, it being a printer, doesn't work reliably. In fact, what I've ended up doing in an effort to remedy the chronic going to sleep but not waking up behavior is by using a plug-in wall timer to turn the printer off and then on 2 times a day at midnight and 12 noon. So essentially every 12 hours it cuts power for a minute and then turns it back on. And that really seems to have made very little difference. So at this point, I think I'm just going to have to resign myself to constantly having to power off and power on this printer every time I want to use it. What a major inconvenience.